Good afternoon, Eagles family. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of On the Road to Victory. I'm your host, Jimmy Smith, and today we are joined by a very special guest, someone I admire a lot, Mr. Derrick Gunn. Mr. Gunn, thank you so much for joining us today.
You know what, Jimmy? Thanks for having me. But see, you just fumbled right out of the gate. Calling me Mister is a taboo. I'm just Derrick Gunner, D Gunner, Mister. I appreciate it, but don't call me Mister, man. I'm about to look behind me and ask who you talking to. I don't even know
That's
who Mister is. So
You're right. Okay. I only got a couple minutes to talk to you before the show. That was something I was definitely going to ask you. I was like, I don't want to be calling him Mr. Gunn here,
no,
but
no, no.
respect, definitely got to give you respect. But Derrick,
Yeah,
thank you so much for coming on today. How are you doing today?
doing good, man. A beautiful day outside. I'm busy. Yeah, as you can tell, it's hard to track me down a lot of times now, but everything's great. Family's well, family's healthy. And that's all I can ask for in these unprecedented times we live in right now.
How about it, Derrick? Things have been wild, but it seems, we got a question already, and a great question.
Yeah,
What do you got on the grill today? I know that's something that you've been doing on your
yeah,
Flatstone
yeah.
to get through the quarantine. What do you got on the grill for today?
People ask me that on social media every day and everywhere I go, even when I'm at Wawa or mall. People, hey, Gunner, what are you grilling? My grilling has been so infrequent now since I'm doing so many different platforms. But let's see. Yesterday on the Blackstone, we did smash burgers. Today on my big green egg, I'm going to smoke a big salmon steak, and some family members want some more smash burgers. So I'm going to have my smoker and the Blackstone going at the same time.
Mm. Making me hungry already, Derrick.
I hear you.
You do every day. I don't
Yeah,
like to harass you, but you do harass my stomach every time I
yeah.
pass.
You and hundreds of others, brother. I don't do it on purpose. I just like to share.
Well, yeah, and then my girlfriend ends up seeing it, and then I'm grilling for the day. So,
There
I
you
mean,
go.
you,
See, I
you get us
inspire
out there.
you. I inspire you to grilling greatness. See?
See, not just greatness here on, not just on these
Yes.
social platforms, but on
Yes.
the grill as a man as well.
Absolutely.
Shane here says, you are the man. I mean, this is what you are trying to teach people through
Yeah.
just your actions. And that's
Yeah.
something that I've always admired about you. And that's the reason I wanted to bring you on today.
Shane, I
A lot of,
appreciate you, brother.
and thank you, man. And, there's a lot of craziness in the world today. And, we talk about a minute before the show, this
Yeah.
is something. I joined this social media world because of all the craziness and the madness of it. And I grew up watching you. I grew up
Uh,
watching the greats, and it literally, I aspire now to be like you. It took me going through some things in life, my
yeah.
fans know about. We talked a little bit about, but I went through some things and I tried to fight, and now I'm
Yeah.
trying to fight through and be the best man I can be. And one day we hope to do what you do, but I just wanted to bring you on, and you're someone that's friends with a man I truly respect and admire as well, Brian Dawkins.
Oh
And I
yeah.
know
Oh
that
my
you've
man.
helped
Yeah.
him. 23 years you spent in Philadelphia.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to see his whole career. I was just hoping that you would give these people, some words of encouragement. Maybe someone like myself. What can we do to make this social media world a better place? How can I aspire to be more like you?
Mm,
Because it's getting wild out there, man.
yeah. Be careful what you step into when you talk about social media. Social media, there's a lot of good, but there's also a lot of bad, and it's very easy to get caught in the quagmire of all the bad that's out there. And it's a shame that a lot of people on social media use it to be bitter, antagonist, hateful in a lot of ways, and hide behind a caricature on their social media platforms. But there's so much good out there. I mean, like with Facebook, through the years, I've been able to reconnect with people and friends I hadn't seen since grade school, middle school, high school, college. We've reconnected and we've shared family stories, and some of them I've seen again. When you're doing certain things, it's a great platform to get something out there when you're starting a new venture or when you're trying to enhance your business venture, such as yourself and me now as I continue to reinvent myself in a lot of ways. But I just tell people, don't get caught up in all the negativism that's out there. And it's a shame that so many people seem to enjoy the negatives in more than the positive. Use the platform like Brian Dawkins, who talked about what he went through with depression, and he even still fights it today, and how he not only combats it and wins. And for those people out there that know your story, the fact that you're still sitting here and telling the story, it tells me that you're not struggling, you're winning because you're still here. See, you walked through that darkness, and you came out on the other side. A lot of people, unfortunately, don't get to come out on the other side. So now that you've seen what it's like to be in both the dark and the light, use that lightness, man, to share with other people, because, you may think a lot of words you speak along those lines are insignificant, but it only takes one word, one sentence to truly penetrate the heart and souls of some people, and to help them to push forward, to keep fighting, to not give up, to not end things abruptly, man. So as I've told you before we went on, you keep using that platform. You keep sharing out there, man, because see, you have firsthand experiences. If I try to tell people what to do, what not to do, but having walked your walk, it's effective, but not as effective as somebody who's experienced it firsthand and who's still standing here to tell that story today.
I appreciate that, man. I really do. And that's just something that weighs heavily on me. And my father tried to teach me that. And, listening to guys like you and Dawkins talk about things like that, it allowed me in my darkest of times to finally see a light. And, I really appreciate you saying that, because that's all I want to do. I want to show people that I deal with depression. I deal with things, there's a reason I almost passed away. I went through a lot, and I still every day I deal with health issues, but I want to bring a joy to people, to show people every day you can wake up and fight, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, remember,
not just fight, but win. You see, you have to have that in your mind also. I'm not just fighting, but every day I'm winning. I'm winning every day. You have to keep telling yourself that every day.
Yeah, and I truly believe that. And that's something, I started doing this in 17, and that's what a wild year, everybody's saying, give up on the Eagles, and I'm saying, fight, fight, fight. So like you just said, it's all about winning. So the outcome truly pushed me to keep going. The Eagles helped me. They gave me something inside, and it's something I've always had in my family. I mean, my father was buried with his red and white jersey. So, I mean, something that, and when I was on my deathbed, I had to write in my will that I will be buried in my Dawkins jersey. That's something, it means the world to us. And you are someone that meant the world to me. And I know a lot of people, it's like, oh, the players and things like that. But, this is something I aspired to do as a young man. And I got away from that. And now I'm here. So you know what? Shooters take their shot. And I was like, I'm going to go ahead. Derrick Gunn just literally followed me on Twitter. I was like, you know what? I'm doing it because you're a great man. I truly appreciate what you just said there. You show people how to, even when you're down, I don't want to harp on something like it's a negative, some unfortunate events happen for you. But, I reached out to you right away and was like, I know you're someone that's going to take advantage of this social media world, and you'll be right on your feet. Now look at you. Weeks later, you're taking over, man. You got Gun on One. You got, I just saw there was one Grilling the Birds with Trey Thomas now.
Yeah, I'm doing a YouTube show with Trey Thomas through Inside the Birds with Adam Kaplan and Jeff Mosher, two good friends of mine. I'm also doing Odds on CBS 3 every Sunday morning with my good friend and former colleague, Rob Ellis. I'm doing a 3-hour pregame show on 97.5 with Brian Westbrook and Devon Givens. So now I have to be structured. My entire 41-year broadcasting career was based on wing it, because I knew what I had to do daily. I knew what time I had to be at practices, what time in the locker room, what time to catch flights, what time to be in the studio. Now, I told my wife, I said, this is hard. I've got to set up, I got to have a notebook. I have to keep, okay, at this time, I have to be here. I'm on this call at this time. I'm not used to that, man. So I guess I'm growing up in some ways, but in the world that we live in today, and this is not just happening this year because of COVID. We've been watching this happen ever since the market crashed in 2008. So many people have lost jobs suddenly, had to reinvent themselves. And there's been a lot of success stories, especially through social media. Out of desperation, families have come up with a product or an idea, thought it was, we'll see what happens. All of a sudden it blew up. They make more than what they ever made working wherever they were, school teachers, factory job, whatever. And so now I'm reinventing myself, and I'm enjoying it. in a lot of ways. I'm enjoying doing a number of different platforms. See, when you work for one corporation, you have limitations in terms of things that you could do, products you can promote, so on and so forth, because they could be considered direct competition with the company you work for. I get that. I had no problem with that. But now I have a chance to try a little bit of everything, man. And, so that's a blessing, and I'm enjoying it in a lot of ways.
I You're not the only one enjoying it. I'm going to be honest with you. We're
Yeah,
all enjoying it. And what I
yeah,
loved was every interview I heard after those unfortunate events, every time you said, I'm not talking as if this is a eulogy. This is
right,
not the end. You were
right,
standing
right.
tall and you knew, and I knew you had things
Yeah,
brewing.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
so I love it. So I suggest to everyone out there, if you're not checking these things out, you've had Brandon Graham on for your first
yeah,
show,
yep,
Lane Johnson,
yep,
and Brian Dawkins.
yep.
Some amazing stuff. I really can't even begin. We had a question here. Now, Derrick Gunn, that's somebody, whenever you hear your name, you think, man, this guy's been through it, right? He's talked to every player that's been through it. Now, everyone knows about Brandon Graham
Right.
and your relationship. Is BG the leader that we think he is? Do you think he's the guy? You saw him stepping up yesterday at practice. Is he the guy that needs to step up and help this defense right now?
Well, he's one of the leaders, definitely. And as he's gotten older, he's taken on more of a verbal leadership role. There are a lot of guys who will tell you, I lead by action on the field. Well, sometimes, especially in the game of football, you need somebody to verbally get up and say something that the others want to say, but a little bit hesitant to say because they don't think they have the so-called um, notoriety or clout in the locker room to say something. But when you talk about leaders on that team, it's a Carson Wentz. It's a Fletcher Cox. It's a Lane Johnson. It's a Jason Kelsey. It's a Brandon Graham. So whereas a Malcolm Jenkins was the focal point of that front and center leadership in the past, it's a bunch of guys on the team right now, and that's what you need. You got a bunch of core group guys who have been with Doug Peterson, for the 5 years that he's been here. And those are the guys, that have to step up, especially in troubled times like this, and say, hold on, I'm here to tell you guys, we went through this in 2018. We went through this in 2019, and we were able to make the playoffs. So hold on. It's only 2 games. Don't panic yet. The boat might seem to be taking on water, but it's not sinking yet. It's not sunk yet. So, there's still a lot of games to be played.
And, I shared that right away when you and Dawkins were talking about that. And I loved it because that's, what we're talking about, that fight, not giving
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
And, the Eagles seem to be a team that do better when their backs are against the wall, as much as
yeah,
we
yeah,
don't want to deal with it as
yeah,
fans. It's tough. But before I get too much into football, I did want to still ask you some questions, but that I feel like
yeah.
that was relevant toward, using that kind of mentality. Now how, you talked about 40 plus years in this industry.
Mm,
You are 23 years in
yeah.
Philadelphia. Now,
Hmm.
you grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Yep.
How in the heck did you get brought to Philadelphia? And were you scared because you know how these fans are?
Mm.
What was it like coming here, and what brought you here, Derrick?
When I left my job at NBC in Pittsburgh in 1997, my wife and I, we decided, take a little time and regroup and see what we wanted to do. Well, initially, I left there in April of 97 at WPXI in Pittsburgh. So from April through mid-July, I'm weeding through different things. Nothing really piqued my interest. And so in June of that year, we decided to pack up the minivan and we drove across country visiting family in Wisconsin. We went through Nebraska and Iowa and Colorado, in Santa Fe, New Mexico. We ended up in my wife's family's home in Southern California. And we were there for several weeks. And then all of a sudden, my agent one day in July called me and said, "You must be living right." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "You just had 3 job offers in the last 24 hours." I said, "Okay." So one of them was back in my hometown in Milwaukee. Another one was in Detroit. And the third one he said is this thing called Comcast Sports Network. And I said, "What's that?" And he said, "It's a startup regional network in Philadelphia." He said, I think it's something you should really look into. And at the time, I'm thinking, I don't want to go to a startup because you just never know with startups. In Philadelphia, I don't know about Philadelphia because you hear of all the negative stories about the fan base and how critical people are. But my wife kept saying, you should look into this. Well, the next day while we're in California, I get a call from one of the guys who was doing the hiring. And he said, "Hey, we want you to come here. We'd love to have you. I've heard good things about you." And I hung up. I said, "Okay, I'll give it consideration." Well, what they wanted to do, they wanted to fly me in from San Diego while I was out there with my family to Philadelphia just to do a final interview. And the guy called me back 5 minutes later and said, "You know what? Take your time. We're not starting until September. Take your time, enjoy your family, and when you get back home to Pittsburgh, just give us a call and we'll fly you in." So when I hung up the phone from that call, I told my wife, I said, "You know what, huh? Usually that means they found somebody closer, cheaper, and they've rethunk this and decided, you know what, that's okay. We don't need a Derrick Gunn." So we stayed another week in California. There was no rush for me to get home. So we eventually packed up a minivan and we started driving across country, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas. We got close to Tennessee, and my wife said, "You've always talked about your grandparents' farm. Your kids are small; they may never get to see it again." My grandparents both were dead at that time, but one of my uncles and aunts, they still lived on the property, 15-acre property, and he said, "Let's go by Tennessee, right outside of Memphis, and see your grandparents' farm." So I called a bunch of relatives there. They said, "Oh yeah, stop by." We were planning on staying one night and we ended up staying 2 or 3 nights. So again, I'm not in any hurry to get back home to Pittsburgh. I'm thinking, you know what, job's done. They don't want me. So eventually, we get back to Pittsburgh about a week and a half, 2 weeks later than I thought we would get back. And my wife said, "Just call them and see." And so, sure enough, I get home, unload the minivan. Next morning, I call and say, "Hey, I'm back in Pittsburgh." Guys said, "Hey, we've been waiting for you to call. Can you fly here tomorrow?" What? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I flew here. Um, at that time, the offices were in trailers outside of the Wells Fargo Center, which was was a spectacle at that time. The studio wasn't even complete. We were walking in and out of studio on plank boards from outside to inside. The offices weren't finished, and I'm thinking, "There's no way I'm taking this job. I don't know what these people are doing. I'm not coming here." So I go home, and I talk to people like, I got to meet Leslie Goodell and a few other people that were there. And, they say, "Are you coming? Are you coming?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll give it serious consideration." I went home. I told my wife, I said, "I don't know about this." She goes, "You know what? You know what? Maybe this is where God wants you to be right now. Maybe that's the door he's opening for you." So we decided to pack up. And lo and behold, when we came here, to be honest with you, I'm still thinking, okay, I'll stay here 3, 4 years maybe and use this as a springboard to go somewhere else. That was the plan for me and my wife and my agent, Mendez Napoli, who's based in Southern California. Stay here 3 or 4 years and, we'll see what else is out there. With 3 turns into 5 to 8 to 12. Next thing you know, I'm still here over 2 decades, man. So this is where I was meant to be. And you know what? It turned out to be the right decision, man. I love the fan base. I love the passion of these people. These people embraced me as they found out who I was and what I'm all about and my consistency. And these people embraced me and gravitated towards me. You can't help but love. Even when they're critical, you can't help but love a fan base like Philadelphia, man, because you know what? Come hell or high water, they care. That's the most important thing. They care. There's a lot of lounge chair quarterbacks out there and coaches who think they know more than you. And I love to engage those people as well, man. But the bottom line is they care.
That's the truth. And that's the one thing, you look at we're passionate, whether or not we're on you or not, it's because we know what you're
Yeah,
capable of.
sure.
And I
Absolutely.
think that's why you're so respected, Derrick. I mean, you went after the players and the players respected you because you're an
Yeah.
honest man. They know they could confide in you. I mean, that's something that you got to respect. It's something my father taught me, an honest man is going to make it further, and I love that about you. And I think that you've been a part of this for a reason. Like you said, God put you on a path to be
Yeah.
a part of Philadelphia. And I think, growing up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, that's wild. I'm sure you never thought in your wildest dreams that you'd end up in Philadelphia. But you
No.
talk about how much we do love you, man. And that's the thing. You saw when those unfortunate events had occurred that we had your back right away.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
mean, that's the passion we share for those players. So how did that feel for you to see that, everybody had your back? Like, did you expect that much of an outpour? Because I saw it and I was like, yes,
Yeah.
just unbelievable.
Yeah. You know, um, when I found out I was being laid off, my wife was in the air flying to Southern California to go visit her family. I said, "Man, she's going to land and I got to drop this bomb on her." So I told her, What had happened. She thought I was joking because I'm always joking, with her. And I said, "Hun, I'm serious this time." And she goes, "What?" She goes, "You know what? Okay, well, God has a better plan then. Maybe, when man closes one door, God opens another one. He always has for me. And that's been my whole career. Everywhere I've gone, from El Centro, California to San Diego to Milwaukee to Pittsburgh to here. I've always left on my own terms, except from here, but that's understandable. When you think about what happened with the COVID, and basically across our NBC platforms, a lot of us, who covered football, the jobs weren't there. You couldn't interview players. You couldn't go to the locker room. So they had to justify. So you know what? So a few days after that, I decided I'm going to sit down on my patio deck and just put a thank you video out there, 2 minute, 18-second video. My guy, Marshall Harris at D-Gun, he said, "Don't write a goodbye like everybody else does, man." He said, "You know what? Sit outside and let people see your face." I said, "You know what? That's a good idea." So I sat outside. I had to do it like 4 or 5 times. I didn't know Twitter only handles like 2 minute, 20-second videos. So I had to redo it like 3 or 4 times. But I released a thing and I'm thinking, okay, maybe a couple thousand people, I might say, "Hey, D-Gun, well wishes." Never in my wildest imagination did I think close to 1 million people would view that video. I never thought it would have been trending for like 48 hours. And the outpouring of support. Brian Dawkins' video, I will always save that video. Brian Dawkins and I go way back, and we've talked through a lot of things. I helped him through a lot of things. Brandon Graham, Lane Johnson, Hollis Thomas, Jeremiah Trotter, Donald McNabb, Brian Westbrook, and every writer in the city, every other TV person, sports person in town, even news people, play-by-play people. And I'm not sitting here tooting my own horn. What I'm trying to tell you is this: I was shocked and overwhelmed that people into that magnitude, that volume, went out of their way to express their sentiments on social media platform, texting me and calling me for like 3 weeks straight on my phone, nonstop text, calls. What can I do for you? How can I help you? What so on and so forth, as I've done for so many people. In a lot of cases, with me and my wife, we're so used to giving that a lot of times it's uncomfortable to receive. You know what I mean? Because you don't expect anything. We don't do things to get something in return. We just do it out of the goodness of our hearts. And so we were just talking about this the other night. Sometimes maybe we're a little uncomfortable with receiving because we're so used to being the ones extending ourselves. But you know what? I can't thank all of the current players, ex-players, media base in Philadelphia, especially the fan base in this city. I can't thank them enough for the support they've given me.
Yeah, and I was proud to see that, because you earned that. And Brian Dawkins, of course, I see every message thing he's ever said of
Yeah.
mine or retweeted, because he's that great of a man. And it's
Yeah.
awesome to hear
Yep.
that you were there for his struggle. And I had heard
Yeah.
things like that before from him. So I knew the impact you had, and I've always strived to be able to meet guys like you and Dawkins because of I want to be that kind of man. I want to be able to help other people and use my story to help people as I grow.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
It's great. Thank you, Eagles fans, for doing what we should when a great man, and we will follow you. I promise you, you'll get more than millions of views. So
Right.
Can't wait to see what's next. Anything new you got? Are you going to be on the grill maybe or out fishing? Anything like that?
You never know. I got a beautiful lake 3 miles down the road from me. I stop at. It's like my second office. I go there sometimes, just for the peace. I just love being out in nature. Love watching cranes and egrets fly by. And I always tell people a bad day of fishing beats a good day of work. So every now and then I go down there. My grandson and my daughter, and one of my daughters and son-in-law lives with us. So my wife and I chasing around our grandson, who's almost 22 months old now. That's a joy. In my house, there's 4 adults, 3 dogs, and what I call a 21-month-old demolition expert. And it's nonstop entertainment in this house, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I have 2 grandsons, you know what? Coming up next, I'm about to launch. I want to do voiceovers. I've always wanted to do voiceovers like industrial films. I've always wanted to do like narrations. Like I love watching those Discovery narrations and stuff like that. I want to do like audio books and things of that nature as well. And I told the Philadelphia Business Journal, a guy interviewed me last week. I said, at the top of my voiceover wish list would be a voice in a movie, some kind of movie, a Disney movie or something, and to do voiceovers for the NFL films. When they
Mm.
do those historic pieces and stuff like that, I would love to do that. So we'll see what happens. That's on my bucket list, and we'll see how it pans out. I'm doing things right now I never thought I'd be doing right now. I'm doing the podcast. Gunn on One has really been successful so far, and we're barely not even a month old yet. And I'm not going to give it away, but my guest for this Monday is a guy who is well known in this region, and there's no fine line. You love him or you don't love him. He's an either or type person. So I can't tell you who it is, but we're going to have a very colorful, candid conversation coming up on Monday when we tape the latest edition of Gun on One. I'm doing TV still, Channel 3. I'm doing radio now. I'm doing YouTube shows. So, if I can make them all come together and make as much money as I used to make, we'll see what happens. Maybe more. Who knows? But I'm having fun. The main thing is I'm having fun now.
More, I'm
Yeah.
thinking for your future, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But to be real, you said it yourself earlier. When man closes one door, God opens another. And it
Always,
seems
yes.
to me you're having
Yeah.
much better time now. You're at home. You get to make your videos at home. You get to do your thing. I'm sure you got to still do some things, but you're getting to spend time with your family, man. Nothing beats that.
Yeah, exactly. When my wife came back from California, it's funny. She sat down. I was watching TV. She goes, "Put the TV on pause." I said, "Okay." She goes, "I need to talk to you." And so, when a wife says, "I need to talk to you," it's like, "Oh no, what did I do now?" And so she goes, "So now that you're at work, what are you going to do? Because I'm the breadwinner in this house." And I busted out laughing, right? And I said, "You know what, hon? Well, I'm going to work on some things. I'm going to take some time just to clear my mind and enjoy a couple of weeks." But it was funny that she used that tone and said, "I need to talk to you right now." And so we just started laughing. She goes, "Well, what are you going to do?" And so I said, "Here's what I want to do, and let's see what happens." Some things you want to do takes a little bit longer than you want. And then there were some things that just presented themselves along the way I never even thought about, like Channel 3 and 97.5. I wasn't even thinking about it. They presented themselves. And so I said, yes. There's some things I said no to. I also want to do some media consulting and motivational speaking along the way as well. So those opportunities are out there. It's just a matter now of lining everything up and structuring my life more so than I ever have before.
Yeah, structure seems to be something
Yeah,
in this
yeah.
world that needs to be. I'm
Oh my
myself
goodness, yeah.
trying to figure that
Wow.
out.
Yeah.
It's wild. I have nowhere near the schedule you do, so I better up my game.
God.
But no, it's great to hear that, though. I honestly, that's another thing. It's like you have a great voice for those kind of things. I think
Yeah.
you would be perfect, and especially doing things for the Eagles. Obviously, we all think that, but NFL films, what a great idea.
Yeah.
But my girlfriend always tries to get me into doing the voiceover stuff too. Man, that is fantastic to hear you say that, and I'm going to look forward to definitely backing you up.
Why not? Give it a try.
I'm going to now.
Don't limit yourself. Don't ever say I can't unless you try. Everything is not for everybody. Some people are good at building things. Some people are good at writing, speaking. You know what? But test the waters. Because you may find out some things about yourself that you never knew. People ask me all the time, "Wow, you're on TV," and I said, "Stop right there." And I tell them all the time. I said, before I got in television, if you had asked me the top 20 things job-wise that I wanted to do in my life, being on television in front of camera would have been number 45 on the list. I had no aspirations, no desire to do this. But you know what? Life steered me in this direction, and and I'm glad it did. And I've enjoyed every bit of it.
We're all glad it did too. That was actually something I had here to mention.
Yeah.
You've said that. Coming from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, you were someone that played baseball. You won a championship as a kid, and I heard you mention something. You lived across the street from Oscar Robertson. Did you ever get to meet the Big O? I mean,
we would go outside and wave at him, and he would wave back. But when we moved from the city of Milwaukee out to a suburb called Brown Deer, we didn't know it until maybe months later. But one day I'm standing outside, and I said, "Dad, right across the street." I said, "Dad, look," and he goes, "Don't stare, don't stare," And so it took a little while, but yeah, we lived across the street from Oscar Robertson, one of the greatest players ever in the history of the NBA. Yeah, that
that's
was a
wild.
real treat. Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy though. I mean, so okay, now you grow up, Wisconsin. You played baseball. You said number 45 on the list. So what would number one be? What was something that you really wanted to do growing up
Well,
if you weren't doing this?
I don't know if I wanted to do it. Obviously, I played three sports in high school, played two in college. But my mom was a teacher, and she always wanted me to go into business administration. So my first year of college at University of Whitewater, Wisconsin, I was majoring in business administration. And then unexpectedly, after my first year, she passed from pneumonia. And so I decided to load up and head out west and call my high school baseball coach. And he got me into college, small college out in California, and I was majoring in social science. So I had no idea what I wanted to do with social science, but that's where I was going. At that point, I was just 19-year-old kid enjoying life, living in Southern California, enjoying the sunshine, the mountains, the deserts, stuff like that. So really, I didn't have much of a direction at that point. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but it wasn't television, that's for sure.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's partially my path. I went business administration. My things threw me a curveball.
Yeah.
So that is something that intrigued me. I wanted to ask because it's like, this was not, my number one. I had much different plans, but that's awesome to hear. Now let's get into this second half. Great to hear about that. Thank you for sharing those stories.
Sure.
Wonderful to get to know you here. I am on cloud nine here. And I hope you fans are out there enjoying it. Thanks for all the comments and questions. Now, something that I love is you always have the inside scoop. You had it Monday. I'm listening, drinking my coffee, and I'm like, what did Lane Johnson just say? I'm like, I'm writing notes and making tweets and getting the information out as if I'm watching a press conference. You're still out here killing it. And then last night I'm getting ready for this show, and you do it again. Alshon Jeffery is out for this Sunday. So you're still killing it doing that. So what do you have anything for us? Anyone that had missed that late night or this morning with what's going on with Alshon? You had reported that he would possibly be missing this Sunday.
Yeah. Alshon is not quite there yet. When you look at that type of injury, a Liz Frank injury, everybody heals differently. And that's a tricky injury because if you bring them back too soon, you can have a major setback. It could be your career. Look at Brian Dawkins. That ended his career, Liz Frank injury, finally. You look at a Jalen Mills when he went through it a few years ago, it took him almost, 15 months. It took him over a year before he was able to play a game again. So the fact that Alshon had that surgery last December, and people throughout the summer were talking about he could be ready at the beginning of the season. I'm like, not with that injury. And then people are saying maybe in middle of September. I said, because what I knew was, as he continues to rehab and develop and strengthen that thing, you don't want to rush him too soon. And so what I was told as I put out on social media last night was definitely not playing this game. There's a slim chance he could play next week against the 49ers. More realistically would be that following week for game in Pittsburgh. And even when you consider he's still only 9-10 months removed from having that surgery, that's amazing. But with an injury like that, the Eagles would rather err on the side of caution, which is understandable in a situation like that. And of course, Doug Peterson at his press conference today said Alshon will not play this coming Sunday. I also put out there that don't be surprised if Fletcher Cox misses that game on Sunday against the Bengals because of an oblique injury. A lot of people that know that Fletcher came out of that game Sunday against the Rams. He was in excruciating pain in a lot of ways. And again, that's another injury where you can pad it up and do all you want, but you get twisted or turned the wrong way. Somebody lands on it the wrong way. Now you're talking about 3-game IR, maybe even longer. So Doug said at his press conference today, Fletcher will be a game time decision. Everybody's pain threshold is different. And, Fletcher can tolerate a lot. But, it's not about what you can tolerate at this point of a season. It's about being smart because you got some major wars coming up. Not just after the Bengals game with San Fran and Pittsburgh and then Baltimore, but you look further down the road, you've got back-to-back weeks. You got Seattle, Green Bay, New Orleans. So we need you for the long run. We can hold down the fort now, but we need you for the long run. Yeah.
And Malik Jackson's been stepping it up. Javon Hargrave just came back. So something, people get upset about, but like you said, you got to look at the long run here, guys. Right, and it's only 2 weeks in. Let's not jump ship here. So I love it. And yeah, that was something I wanted to get to as well. Fletcher Cox, it's something concerning, but I think we could hopefully hold it down. Ridgeway being back there. Maybe you bring up one of the T.Y. McGill like we have. So hopefully Alshon gets back. But I'm with you on the same boat that I thought for sure. I was talking all offseason. Now, guys, you got to understand that Alshon Jeffery is going to start on the PUP list. He can't start on the 3-week IR.
Right.
I'm thinking, why are you going to bring him back if he's only going to be ready week 5, week 6, when you could just make sure he's healthy and bring him week 7, get these younger guys some time?
Mm-hmm.
They threw me the biggest curveball of all time. I was like, wait. So, yeah, let's keep him healthy, but I still am baffled by that move, because if he comes back week 6 or 7, right, that's going to be like, what?
Well,
I mean, why? Why did you do that?
They need his help. Obviously,
the
wide receiving situation is in a state of flux right now. It hurt this team when Marquise Goodwin decided to opt out. But you know what? 69 players decided to opt out because of COVID reasons, family reasons. I applaud every one of them that set aside their money matters and was more concerned about the health of family members, whether it's the kids, their wives, uncles, aunts, grandparents who may be a diabetic, maybe dealing with cancer or some other kind of debilitating, affliction or disease. So I applaud any player that took their $150,000 stipend for 1 year and decided, I'm not going to play the game because what I have at home is more important than what's going on. So, but as we look at the Eagles wide receiver situation right now, they still can't seem to get Deshaun Jackson in a flow. He had him on a pitch count the first game. He didn't get a catch until the second half of game number 2. You got to turn this man loose, and not just on deep routes. Deshaun can run the entire route tree. Send him on the crossing route. Send him on the delayed drag route. Send him on a deep post route. When he started becoming a factor in the game Sunday, it was the up and out moves. DBs still have so much respect for him. They're giving him that cushion. You can dink and dunk your way down the field to Deshaun all day. And when you start becoming predictable going to Deshaun, that's when the likes of a Greg Ward is open. That's when the like of Ertz and Goddard are open somewhere in the middle of the field, and even a John Hightower. So you know what? Utilize that man. Now, obviously, if you overuse him, a little fragile right now in his career. But you know what? These are dire straits right now. You got to send out the SOS. You need to win in any way, shape, or form you can get it, and utilize that man. I hope they leave Greg Ward in that slot position. I think that's the best position for Greg Ward. It's where he's best suited. Every time he catches a pass is a first down. I call him first down Greg. John Hightower, JJ Arthega, Whiteside has got to step up his game. Now, obviously, people blame, Whiteside in a lot of ways, but you're only as good for as many balls as a quarterback throws to you. And I don't know if Carson Wentz has a lack of confidence in Whiteside right now, but you know what? It's all hands on deck right now. You got to use from tackle to tackle, sideline to sideline. You got to use everybody at your disposal to flip the script in terms of what's going on right now with this team.
Definitely. And you talk about being scared to throw to Arthega Whiteside. Probably didn't help his case, when you killed the momentum last week throwing that interception.
Exactly.
But you look at the other receivers, that's a great point, talking about Marquise Goodwin, somebody that I thought was a great move. You trade back 20 spots in the draft. It was like from 190 to 210. You restructure him for like 1.35 mil. I thought, oh, man, this is a great move. Well, he had a kid. And like you said, I'm immunocompromised. I appreciate that. I get it. I look like half David Bowie, half Wolverine here. I understand being quarantined myself. So I appreciate it. And the guy, was really going to help this team. But you look at some of the pieces we added, Jalen Reagor, you mentioned Deshaun Jackson. I agree with you 100%. But in the same token, if you're going to limit Deshaun Jackson at 54, 57%, was the first game, and then 77% the second game. Okay, well then where's Jalen Reagor, the guy that's supposed to replace Deshaun Jackson? And I get he's hurt now, but before that, I thought in game 1 for sure, some quick bubble passes, some bubble screens, some screen passes. The kid is actually good on all 3 levels.
Exactly. You look at what the Rams did. Look, they love to run the reverse. They love to run the rollout. I understand. I agree. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm assuming when it comes to not just to Jalen Reagor, but a lot of rookies, they lost a lot of valuable time when it came to the OTAs, the mini camp, preseason games. And in a lot of cases, their heads are still swimming. They still have a limited package right now for these guys that will continue to expand as the season goes along. So I don't know exactly what Doug Peterson's package is for Jalen Reagor right now. Now, unfortunately, he's going to miss like 3 games. They put him on the 3-game IR. So again, you're handcuffed. I mean, this dude, you got players dropping like flies on this team now. So hopefully, when a Jalen Reagor comes back, now that he's had a few games to get under his belt, now that he can watch, he's basically playing Deshaun Jackson's position. So now that he gets to watch Deshaun in game action, not just practice action, but game action, that will help speed up his learning curve and get him back in there, and he becomes a more viable entity in his offense moving forward.
Definitely. And I couldn't agree more. And, it was nice that he was at least out there, right? Because in our minds, this kid wasn't playing the first few weeks anyway. Tears his shoulder. And then he comes back. And one of the things, I had a pre-draft video about him, his toughness. He reminded me of a young Steve Smith. People were trying to tell me, oh, no, he's just a speedster. Well, he comes back, and I said, well, do you really want to question this kid's toughness? And then again, on Sunday, that kid actually looks like he heard it during the game and then came back out and continued playing. So I have some high hopes for him, and we better, because we got to figure this cap situation out. And I don't think Deshaun Jackson's going to be around. So, like you said, he's filling that Z receiver role. And we need to see him in motion. We need to see him on those end routes. Get him the ball. Come on, man. I mean, you said it. The Rams, they're doing it right in front of your face. I mean, it kind of is a smack in the face to watch teams like Andy Reid and the Chiefs, just moving the ball down the field. And you're like, where? We talked about Carson. If you got weapons, we're good. Well, we had weapons and didn't look so good. But injuries, and you said it, shortened training camp. There are things, not making excuses, putting things into context, right? So making sense of it. And, one thing, though, people are saying, and I don't remember who it was that reported it, but I know that you can give us a more realistic view on this. Has Doug Peterson hit a wall, as someone said? Is this really all on Doug? Is this something where you see that he's on the hot seat right now?
I would say he's on the hot seat because he's in Philadelphia. Okay. More so than anything else. But, he's going to take the bullets because he's front and center. He's the general of this whole thing. Jim Schwartz basically said that, we knew what they were going to do. Rodney Klaus said we knew what they were going to do, and you didn't adjust. You didn't stop it. That's not on Doug Peterson. That's on your defensive coordinator. That's on your defensive personnel. If you knew exactly everything that they're going to run and you still couldn't stop it, you didn't make the necessary adjustments in a chess match, that's on them as well. A lot of the offensive deficiencies, the lack of plays thereof, that falls into Doug and his offensive coordinator. Doug is front and center in terms of taking the blame in a lot of situations for a lot of different things. And he's big enough, boy. He understands the job description of what's to come. And what's expected of him, especially in this city. He played in this city. He coached under Andy Reid in this city. Everything he's going through right now, and you could tell he got a little tense there the other day in his media session with the media. But that's okay. He's as frustrated as anybody out there. And I think until this team gets healthy, it's going to be a struggle. Now, you can say that for a lot of teams, but all the people care about in this city is the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's going to be a struggle when you don't have a Fletcher Cox in the trenches. That's a problem. When you don't have arguably the best right guard in the game and Brandon Brooks, that's a problem. When your first round pick left tackle is out for the season, that's a problem. Okay. Now Isaac Seumalo's out this game. That's a problem. So you're adjusting on the fly in a lot of ways. Matt Pryor, supposedly playing on the left side. Now he's playing on the right side. Nate Herbig on the right side is going over to the left side. That affects continuity and chemistry in a lot of ways. And they better keep the heat off your quarterback, because if quarterback doesn't have time to throw, he's going to be battered and bruised a lot sooner than you want at this point. So this is a game Sunday. When you look at who they're playing on Sunday in Cincinnati, this is a game I call a healing game for the Eagles. This is a game where even if you win by 1 point or you win by 21 points, the bottom line is you get the win, because you want to emotionally and mentally heal and be able to breathe for the storm that's coming up over the next 3 weeks after that. Yep,
definitely. And you said it right. And they don't want to overthink it. They don't want to go in thinking, we gotta destroy them. No, you have to just win.
Have to get a W.
Yep. That's first and foremost, and I love it. And that's the kind of mindset they have to have.
Right.
And I think, like you said, it's a few things in there I wanted to talk about. it's more of a testament to how great of a coach I think Doug Peterson is, for him to come out here and take the blame like that, when you know that it's a plenty of other things. Lane Johnson being hurt the first game. So many things happen. And then the second game, you see the D fall apart. Now, I also found it, I was pretty impressed that we know that it wasn't just Jim Schwartz, but it was. I mean, he's the defensive coordinator, and I literally will let you have it. But I think that really resonated, and you heard Brandon Graham say something. You heard a couple of players that were, wow, they really took it to heart. They thought they were going to get reamed out, and he came out. And what do you think that did for Jim? And what are your thoughts on Jim Schwartz in general, not just coming out and taking the fall for that?
Well, I've seen Jim Schwartz come up with incredible schemes, and Jim Schwartz come up with not so incredible schemes when he's devising game plans against opponents. And what happened against the Rams was a not so good game plan. And for Jim Schwartz to step out there and say, that's 100% on me. I thought a simple game plan would be the best way to defend the Rams. I was wrong. And then Brandon Graham and those guys come out and say, that's on us. We have to get out there and execute it. We play the game. The coaches can only coach you up so much. We play the game. See, that's what leadership does. In bad times, it keeps the ship from disintegrating, from falling apart. It would be very easy for people to finger point and mumble under their breath and talk about somebody over here, and you're not doing your job over there. But that's not what this locker room is all about. That's not what Doug Peterson has built in terms of camaraderie and character in his locker room. And, you have a structure of guys in that locker room that are not going to allow that to happen, no matter how bad a situation becomes. And that's how you keep it going this way instead of it veering off like this when things are falling apart. Your head coach, first and foremost, steps front and center and says, it's on me. I'm the head man. Your defensive coordinator says, I take 100% responsibility for what happened. And then it trickles down to your leaders in that locker room when they say, you know what? It's on us. We got to step this thing up and make it better. And that's what a team is.
100%. And, you saw one of our leaders, Carson Wentz, and everybody, there's a lot of people really hard on him, and rightfully so. He's had his issues. But, I mean, I'm not going to jump ship for a guy that showed me what he could do with the Garbage Pail Kids last year. Right. So,
Garbage Pail Kids. You're wrong for that, man. You're wrong for that.
I'm sorry, because I like a lot of those guys, too.
Right.
Let's be real here. Those guys weren't going to be starting in the NFL anywhere, let alone even be fourth, string. But he made some great players out of Greg Ward. We got to see, and that's something, I love to see. But I'm not ready to give up on him. But it was nice to see him take responsibility, and say, and it was crazy because he said, this is the best I've ever seen this team. And you know what? In a way, I kind of believe him, because I think that this team does the best when they're pissed off, when their back is against the wall. And I think we finally got that. And I think they better be, because like you said, it's not just the Bengals. Then you got the Niners. I don't care if they're banged up. And then you got Steelers, Ravens, and then that back half. My Lord. And you got the Browns and Cardinals too, right? Two young, athletic quarterbacks.
Kyler Murray is balling right now, man. That young man, when the Cardinals came out of the gate and beat the 49ers in San Francisco, that's when I said, okay, because, I think a lot of people, they drafted a linebacker in the first round. They have one of the best linebacking cores in the National Football League. And I'm talking 4 or 5 deep when it comes to linebackers and interchangeable parts. Don't underestimate what they're capable of. I mean, that kid didn't win Offensive Rookie of the Year by a fluke. He's big as a Smurf. But man, I'm watching him dart in and out and avoid hits and leave people in the dust. And I'm telling you, this could be an exciting team to watch this year. And I'm looking forward to seeing, of course, it's later in the year, but I'm looking forward to seeing the Eagles when they go out there and play that team, just to see exactly how they try to defend against that young man in that offense.
I can't say I'm 100% looking forward to it, but no, I know I am. It's going to be a fun game, right? And it's something that I'm looking forward to in my mind, because I agree with you. Kyler Murray is amazing, and now they added DeAndre Hopkins, Larry Fitzgerald playing for his
oh my goodness.
Is this guy real? First off, I mean,
Larry Fitzgerald's like 95 years old and still kicking.
I wasn't going to say it. That was literally going to be my joke.
Right.
But he grew up, someone watching his dad got to work for the Vikings, watching Chris Carter. So, woo! What a great player that is. So that will be a fun game to watch. I agree. Now, Carson Wentz, I would love to see him start playing like he did back in 2017, but not just 2017. People seem to forget what he did. He rushed back in 2018, but last year, I really loved what he did. But, I'll kind of, since we're coming near the end of the hour, kind of wrap up what, you also said in the last question about, we got new linemen again.
Yeah.
Nate Herbig moved from left guard to right guard. Now, he was doing well at right guard. So before we talk about protecting Carson Wentz and getting back to him, I want to talk about protecting him. So what do you see? Why is Matt Pryor moving to the left? Did he do so bad at the left guard that they moved him to right guard now?
Well,
Or
see,
do you think maybe – oh, go ahead.
I think he's better suited. I think Pryor's better suited on the right side. You know, you saw how he played against Seattle in that playoff loss earlier this year, and he graded out well. And I think that's a better position for him. I don't know if Herbig is going to be a better left guard than right guard. We're going to find out, obviously, on Sunday. But Jeff Stoutland, you have to trust Jeff Stoutland. Jeff Stoutland is one of the better offensive line coaches in the game, been around the game a long time, highly respected. And Jeff Stoutland feels it's best to move Herbig from the right side to the left side and put Pryor back on the right side. I have to go with him. Jason Peters is what he is. He's a future Hall of Famer. He may not be the player he was 4 or 5 years ago, but he's still better than what you could have out there on that island, protecting your franchise quarterback's blind side. You put Pryor in between a Pro Bowl right tackle in Lane Johnson and a Pro Bowl center in Jason Kelce. And I think that's the most stable line you could have right now in terms of trying to establish the running game against a run defense that gave up 215 yards rushing to the Cleveland Browns last Thursday night. And in terms of protecting your quarterback.
Love it. And I was going to say, they're 29th in the league, but that means nothing. You've been 2 games in. But last week, giving up 200 yards, that's telling.
Right.
So give the ball to Miles. Let's feed that man the ball.
But don't overuse him. Don't overuse him, though. Keep him anywhere between 18 and 23, 25 touches. That man is not built to carry the ball 25 times a game. Give him 18 to 20 carries. Give him another 4, 5, 6, swing passes. Get him out in open space. Get him in a mismatch situation. That's the best way to utilize a Miles Sanders and keep him on the football field instead of the hot tub.
Love it. And that's right. Take advantage of that linebacker matchup, attack with the screen game, everything like that. You're missing Reagor. So, don't overuse him. Right. And I think this is where Boston Scott and Corey Clement actually excel. They weren't.
Absolutely.
That Washington game, that's a tough. And I talked about that before that game. If we were missing Lane, we were going to be in some trouble. I didn't know it was going to be 8-sack domination, them beating us. But, those guys were not fit for that role. I was hoping the Eagles were going to bring in someone like Devontae Freeman earlier in the season. So just because I was afraid something like that would happen. Let's just pray that Miles Sanders stay healthy. So let's go with what you said. Only give him around 18 to 20 carries in there. And the receivers, they got to step it up, like you said. We all know what we have in our tight ends, so hopefully they step it up. But that line, like you mentioned, that's the most important thing. But we trust in Jeff Stoutland. And we got guys like Driscoll, Sua Opeta that are guys that are competing too. So
sure,
it's not the most reassuring depth, but we still have some.
Keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah, exactly. Now, here's a good one from C-Swiss. This is something I wanted to ask you about Carson. I wanted to get back on him. Now, some of the things they're saying about Carson is that he says here, are we forcing players to be good at certain things they're not naturally good at? I think he may be referring to Carson Wentz. One of the things I thought was, when you bring in, and I heard Jaws talking about it the other day. I think you mentioned something about it, and it was just something. Are we loading Carson Wentz up too much with stuff? Are we trying to take him away from who he truly is in 17, keeping him in the pocket? But then I hear a report that says that he's not listening to anything. So is it they're giving him too much and now he's just like, screw it and doing his own thing? Or what are you seeing here? What's going on here with the Carson Wentz relationship with this team?
I've said a couple of years, ever since Carson came out before training camp in 2019 and said he wants to become more of a pocket quarterback. And I'm thinking, no. That's not your game. That's not what got you to the National Football League. That's not what got you drafted second overall. It's your athleticism. I think he should be playing more of a game like a Jared Goff. Roll that pocket. Get him outside the pocket. Let him find the seams. When the Rams roll their pocket, look at how many receivers were standing wide open in the middle of the field, okay, or along the sideline. Look at how many sideline tosses Jared Goff completed. Because of that, it's in the people's mind. Is he going to throw? Is he going to run? You free as the outside linebacker. You free as a safety. With the Carson Wentz, let that man move. Give him the option to throw or to step up and run. Now, I don't like Carson staying in the pocket because when he feels the pressure, I think he ducks his head forward too much. And especially that first game, when you got a formidable defensive front like the Redskins have, You're going to have some 300-pound guy bearing down on you at one point, and you're going to go to that duck move, and he's going to catch you in the crown of the helmet. And now you're talking about neck injury, possible spinal injury. We got to get Carson out of this, duck head forward. Do like a lot of quarterbacks do. Drop, protect yourself. Roll, protect yourself. He's a big target. He's a big boy, 6'5", but you want to avoid some of those hits and some of the punishment he's taking. Get him outside of the pocket more. I understand there are times when you got to stand back in there. Stand back in that pocket and survey a situation and either get to your tight end in the seams and let it fly down the field. But for the most part, how many plays did the Rams run outside of the pocket for Jared Goff? Misdirection plays and reverses. Get more of that involved in the game. Take some of that pressure off Carson. Let the people who also get paid to help your offense be more involved in the offense and do a little bit more, because we've seen what has happened to Carson health-wise in recent years. And I'm not going to label him fragile, because a lot of people want to label him fragile. But don't make this man take unnecessary punishment if you don't have to.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. Teach him to definitely fix that part of his game.
Yeah.
So that's something I agree with. Now, do you think something that's weighing on him and making him, maybe throw these errant throws, maybe with their coaching in his head, staying in the pocket, are all these things weighing on him? But most importantly, drafting Jalen Hurts. Do you think, and now game 2, you already have him dressed, whether or not he's playing trickery or not. Do you think that is affecting Carson Wentz?
I think it's in the back of his mind that, hey, these guys may have just drafted my replacement. If not in 2021 and 2022, I have to step up my game to prove them wrong, to prove this fan base wrong, to prove a lot of outside perception wrong. Sure you do. You go back to when Green Bay had a Hall of Famer named Brett Favre, and they shocked the world and drafted this guy named Aaron Rodgers. Now, Aaron Rodgers sat on the bench for 3 years. But still, once Aaron Rodgers got the job, and then Green Bay does it again this year, they're screaming for wide receiver help. They drafted Jordan Love, and Aaron Rodgers got to be thinking, I'm not giving this guy my job yet. So Carson Wentz, still in the prime of his career, 27 years old, has to be thinking, okay, are they giving up on me? They gave me all this money, but are they really giving up on me? I've got a lot to do here to prove a lot of people wrong. So that could be as well. He would never admit that publicly, especially in the midst of a season, but it's out there. You think about it, and not just here, it happens with other teams as well. So it's something to think about, something to keep an eye on, because now if Jalen Hurts dressed in game number 2, we're assuming Jalen Hurts might dress for game number 3. He had 3 plays in game number 2, didn't get to touch the ball. Will this be the game where he actually touches the ball and we start to see some of this so-called Taysom Hill, type offense that Doug Peterson told us about before training camp started? Wait and see.
I'm intrigued myself. To me, I thought it would be at least maybe 6-7 games in the year before you saw anything like that, with no training camp preseason. Well, a shortened training camp and no preseason. So, very surprised there. And you have to admit, it's probably going to be an ESPN film one day. Like, Wentz talking about how much it hurt, and it's like,
absolutely
can't be talking, he's got to be the leader he is right now. So, of course, he's not going to say stuff like that. But, someone did mention real quickly, do you see the Eagles putting Howie back in the corner office for his drafts as of late?
I don't see that happening. They tried that once, and we all know it's been well documented what happened at that point. I think the next thing is, Jeffrey Lurie is loyal to a lot of his people in the organization, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think if it doesn't work out for Howie this time, I think the next move is to completely remove him from the organization and bring in a new, fresh idea. When that could possibly happen, I don't know. Again, we still have this whole season to pan itself out. Now, the interesting thing is, right now, as we sit here, the Eagles are $90 million over the cap in 2021. The cap is going to go down and not up, which restricts what you're capable of doing. There's going to be a number of prominent players who may not be here in 2021. I won't give you my list right now. But talk to me in December, January. But Howie's going to have to make some of the toughest business decisions. Right now, the Eagles and the Saints are the 2 worst teams in terms of cap for the upcoming year. And that's why the Eagles were trying to hold on to what little cap space they have this year to offset next year. But there's going to be some hard-line business decisions made in the spring of 2021. And some fan favorites may not be here in 2021.
I agree with you. You can definitely see some of those top receivers,
Yeah.
some of these guys getting up there in age.
Yeah.
Maybe you're one of our favorites. I don't want to talk about it yet, but you're right. And that's something Howie's going to have to figure out. So he's definitely on the hot seat in Philadelphia, but he's going to get probably another year to, at least show what he can do with this
Right.
cap.
Sure.
Talk
Absolutely.
about the 20-ish mil we have now rolling over. Not going to help that much. So
No.
going to
No.
need to see what you can do with restructuring and all that good stuff, Howie. So you need to step it up now more than ever. Now we're coming up on the hour. Derrick, thank you so much for coming on. I want to give you this time if you have any last words.
I just want to say, Jimmy, thank you for having me on. It's great to hear about your story. You are a true inspiration to a lot of people, and you don't even know it yet, but you will find out soon enough. And if I can encourage you in any way, shape, or form, let me know. Just reach out. Thank you to the Philadelphia fan base for being there for D Gunn when D Gunn needed you most. I love the Philadelphia fan base, the Delaware fan base, the South Jersey fan base. I got a lot of respect for this region in terms of sports knowledge and sports backing, and I can't thank you enough. And stay tuned because, like I said, you never know where D Gun's going to pop up next. You never know. Maybe back on TV on a regular basis again. You just never know. So stay tuned because I'm even surprising myself in a lot of ways with what I'm doing.
Might even be watching a movie with your kid one day, and all of a sudden, is that Derrick Gunn? So definitely stay tuned, guys. Check out all his YouTube, his Gun on One, Grilling the Birds, everything he's doing out there. Stay tuned. He's supposed to have a great guest Monday. Hopefully, maybe it's an ex-quarterback that could give us a little insight on Carson Wentz. We'll see who it is, but I'm excited.
Can't tell you anything right now.
Don't say anything. Don't.
Right.
I'm excited. I always, every week, I get excited now. I'm like, who's it going to be? So just throwing it out there into the air, making it happen, right? Speaking into existence. So
there you go.
Thank you so much for joining us. I will hopefully have you on again one day if you will allow it, and hopefully keep in touch. But thank you to everyone that watched tonight. Hope you guys all have a wonderful day. As I say, every video, if you need anything, whether it be about football or anything else, always reach out to me. Always want to be here for you guys. Thank you, guys. Have yourselves a great weekend. Let's get this win against the Bengals. Thank you again to Derrick Gunn for joining in, man. Thank you so much. All right, everyone, have yourselves a great night. And as always, or great day. Jeez, I'm getting ready already. Let's just get this to the Bengals game, right? All right, guys, have a great day. And as always, go Birds!